I will say, I thought that was just, I think there were times when they should have risen. I think what Al Green did was despicable.
That is how you save democracy, by quietly dissenting or bidding on an antique tea set. It was hard to tell what was going on.
I don't know who thought up the bingo signs, but they should be fired.
Michael, this is an indictment, in my opinion, on the Democratic leadership.
What we saw, the theatrics tonight in the chamber, are not being well received.
And actually, it would seem as if Senator Fetterman is slowly starting to wake up to the reality of just how much of a disaster the Democratic Party has truly become.
Pennsylvania. F you, John Fetterman. You act like you're a man of the people. You're going to look out for the weak. You get it. You don't get shit. You really don't. That part of your brain still appears to be injured because you're going to let all these little girls go out there and get a traumatic brain injury. You, of all people who understand what a brain injury can do, screw you and your working class appeal.
Now, let's take a moment to give credit where it's rightfully due. John Fetterman, the junior senator from Pennsylvania, has demonstrated a willingness to break from the rigid party line and think for himself, which is a rare and refreshing quality. In today's political climate, Fetterman seems to be gradually waking up to the realities of the Democratic Party, recognizing its shortcomings and areas where it needs to improve. More politicians need to exhibit that kind of independent thought and intellectual honesty rather than blindly adhering to partisan dogma. What sets Fetterman apart is his willingness to publicly call out his own party when he believes they are going astray or pursuing policies that are not in the best interest of his constituents. That's precisely the kind of courageous and principled leadership we desperately need more of in our political system. Fetterman's focus on working class issues is a welcome change from the often insular and elitist rhetoric that dominates much of the political discourse in Washington. His genuine concern for the struggles of everyday Americans is evident in his policy proposals and his willingness to engage with people from all walks of life. Let's kick address the Democratic Party's growing disconnect from the everyday realities faced by Americans. It's becoming increasingly apparent that there's a significant gap between the party's rhetoric and the concerns of average citizens. It's simply not enough to continuously criticize Trump and his policies. The Democratic Party needs to articulate a compelling and forward-thinking vision for the future of the country. Where is the tangible focus on addressing the kitchen table? Issues that matter most to everyday American families. There's a growing perception that the Democrats sometimes come across as if they're more interested in appeasing the extremes of their base rather than genuinely addressing the real-world problems faced by a diverse range of citizens. This approach risks alienating moderate voters and further widening the political divide. The Democrats need to shift their focus towards offering practical and effective solutions that resonate with a broader spectrum of the population. It's about more than just virtue signaling or championing niche causes. It's about developing policies that improve the lives of all Americans, regardless of their background or political affiliation. There's a concerning perception among some voters that certain Democratic politicians are more interested in maintaining their grip on power than truly serving the best interests of their constituents. It's imperative that these politicians refocus their efforts on understanding and addressing the needs of the people they represent rather than prioritizing their own political ambitions. The Democratic Party is in dire need of some serious soul-searching to reevaluate its core values and priorities. The party needs to figure out how to reconnect with working class voters and those who feel left behind by the modern economy, and start addressing their concerns in a meaningful and tangible way. Now, let's turn our attention to CNN and MSNBC, two of the most prominent cable news networks in the country. While these networks undoubtedly play a significant role in shaping public discourse, there are valid concerns about their journalistic integrity and potential biases. One of the most persistent criticisms of CNN and MSNBC is that they often seem to operate in an ideological echo chamber, reinforcing pre-existing beliefs and failing to provide a balanced perspective on complex issues. This can lead to a distorted understanding of events and contribute to further political polarization. How can viewers truly trust that they're getting the full and unvarnished story when the same narratives are repeated ad nauseum, often without sufficient scrutiny or critical analysis? It's essential for news organizations to challenge their own assumptions and present a range of viewpoints, even those that may be unpopular or challenge their established narratives. To foster a more informed and nuanced public discourse, CNN and MSNBC should actively seek out and present diverse perspectives, even those that challenge their own biases and ideological leanings. This would not only enhance their credibility, but also help viewers develop a more comprehensive understanding of the issues at hand. Instead of simply highlighting problems and stoking outrage, these networks should dedicate more resources to solutions-based journalism, exploring potential remedies to the challenges facing our society. This would not only provide viewers with a sense of hope, but also empower them to become more engaged and informed citizens. CNN and MSNBC's coverage often lacks nuance, which oversimplifies complex issues and contributes to the growing political polarization in our country. It's imperative that these networks resist the temptation to sensationalize stories or reduce them to simplistic narratives and instead strive to provide a more thoughtful and context-rich analysis. Ultimately, it is crucial to hold these networks accountable for upholding the highest standards of journalistic integrity and to demand fair, balanced, and accurate reporting. The future of our democracy depends on a well-informed and engaged citizenry, which in turn relies on a media landscape that is committed to truth and objectivity. In an era of increasing polarization and partisan gridlock, it is essential to recognize and celebrate those politicians who demonstrate integrity, a commitment to serving their constituents, even when it means going against the grain of their own party. John Fetterman embodies these qualities, and his example should inspire others to follow suit. All right, Black Coffee fam, that's my unvarnished take on the current state of affairs. The Democrats have some serious issues to address if they want to regain the trust of the American people. The media needs to strive for greater balance and objectivity in its reporting, and John Fetterman deserves our respect for his willingness to speak his mind and challenge the status quo.